When it comes to success, we often think about it as an event. But according to the most successful people, it's because of our habits. So in this video, I'll be talking about a very special book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this is a very OG self-help book. I'm going to cover everything that you need to know in brief. And yeah, let's get straight to it. So I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens back in 2018. It was written by Sean Covey, which is the son of this author, Stephen Covey. And he just had a more applicable take on the book made by his father, as it was directed to teens. So it's a nice trip down memory lane, but let's get straight to it. So before we discuss the 7 habits, we have to tackle it in a particular order. As seen here, it's like a tree. So we have to get through the foundations, which is focused on personal development. And then the next 3 habits are about relationships development and dealing with other people. And on the last habit, it's called sharpening the saw. It's more about strengthening all the other habits. So before we begin with the first habit, we have to cover what are paradigms. Now, paradigms is just a way for is just how we view things. In other words, if I fill up a glass and if I fill up a glass half, I might call it half full and you might call it half empty. Different people have different paradigms. And the best part is we get to choose our paradigms. If something bad happens to us, we get to choose how we view it. So this segues to the first habit, which is be proactive. Now, in short, being proactive is just choosing what your paradigm is. If, let's say, you got a bad grade in school, you can either feel bad about yourself and kick yourself in the butt, or you can see it as motivation to do better and to accept the fact that you learned something through your mistakes. Being proactive is the opposite as of being reactive, which is you just let whatever comes to you happen to you instead of being proactive where things happen for you and you choose how to respond. And when you choose how to respond, you're being responsible. Some practical applications of being proactive is by volunteering for clubs or or studying an extra hour or talking or taking the time to meditate or journal. Doing these good habits of your own conscious effort is in a way being proactive. Now I forgot to mention before the first habit, the first 3 habits are about personal development. And these habits, we want to remember the personal bank account. And the personal bank account is just an imaginary thing that if we do something that aligns with the first 3 habits, it's called a deposit to the personal bank account. So let's say we study for an extra hour. That's good. You're being proactive. You're helping yourself. That's a deposit to the personal bank account. But if you spend an hour, just watching Netflix, you're not even enjoying it. You're probably hating yourself. And yeah, you're saying negative things about yourself. That's a withdrawal from the personal bank account. The thing about the book of Highly Effective Teens, not this exactly one, the one that I read last time, is that the author ends every chapter with baby steps. So on this video, I just want to share some baby steps for being proactive. One is make a to-do list of the things that you have been avoiding, but you think you should be doing. And then another step would be to take some time for yourself and be proactively in protecting that whatever activity you want to do. The next habit is called begin with the end in mind. Now, this habit is all about thinking about the future and knowing the consequences of our actions. It's about not just living for today, but living for tomorrow, which will inevitably come. Now, you might think, oh, I might die tomorrow. But the possibility is that you won't die tomorrow. And you're going to live with the consequences of eating junk food, of staying up late, and for doing things that you don't actually enjoy. Now, the one key thing in this chapter is that we should have like a life vision and life mission. And I know that sounds wishy-washy, but it's a good way to realign ourselves to how we want our lives to live. If we are just living our lives reactively and not proactively, we won't be able to find satisfaction. There's no right, there's no wrong. Everything just seems like a mess. So by beginning with the end in mind, by having like a vision statement, for example, my vision statement is to help as many people as possible without hurt without destroying my own life. You see, I want to help people, but I also want to make sure I have a good lifestyle that I can keep growing, and I keep learning, can keep teaching others. And that has brought me to making this video. If I did not have that vision statement, I would not have had the clarity to want to make this video for you guys. Another thing is that the vision statement doesn't have to be super long or complicated. It can just be super short. It can be something like work hard. That's already good enough. Now we're on to the third habit, which is about putting first things first. Now, this is very important in productivity. It's about all about prioritization. In this chapter, it talks about how you should prioritize the most important things. And it talks about the time quadrant. There are four different kinds of tasks. There are the urgent and important, the urgent and not important, the important and not urgent, and the not important and not urgent. So basically, quadrant one are the urgent and important. It's the thing that you have to do right now, and you really have to do it right now. So if you focus too much on quadrant one, you're going to be a procrastinator, a crammer, and you might be too stressed if you stay too much in that area. The second quadrant is about the important stuff, but are not that urgent. This is the essay that's due in a week time, or kind of in a way exercising and doing all those things that are important to you, but you don't have to do them tonight. So these are the things that we also have to prioritize and find time in our calendar. Because if we don't, sooner or later, quadrant one is going to be filled up with a lots of things to do, and you don't want that. The third quadrant are for the urgent but not important stuff. These are the things that you really don't have to do it, but like people are expecting you to do it. So let's say people are asking you to hang out this week or hang out tomorrow, but you don't really consider them as close friends, and you have more important things that you should be doing. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't hang out with them. What I'm saying is, if you have more important things, then you can cut off on the things that are not as important, right? So that's quadrant three. If you stay this quadrant for too long, you become a yes man. You say yes to everything, no matter how important it is. You don't want to stay there unless you just want to be overwhelmed with it. And the last quadrant, which is urgent, and not important. These are the things that bring no bearing or meaning into your life. Remember that vision statement? These activities don't contribute at all to your vision statement. It's about stuff like playing video games, eating junk food. They don't add value to your life, and they're not urgent as well. So you want to avoid these things as much as possible. Now, I'm not saying you should. Now, I'm not saying you should avoid all things in the fourth quadrant. You can do it once in a while, but if you have other stuff on your plate, please lower down the stuff in the fourth quadrant. So that's mostly the third habit, prioritizing first things first. And it also gives, I remember, some tactics on how to put first things first. Some things are called like delegation if you're working in a team. If you know you're good at something and you're really bad at doing something else, delegate that task immediately. Or maybe you have something important you're working on, and like you have a task that isn't that important, but you know someone else would be willing to do it. If you're a leader, I suggest you delegate that right away. Another tactic is to just plainly say no, and as much as possible not need to explain, because if it's your life, it's pretty much your decisions, especially if it's a high enough priority like your studies or your business or your health. You can say no to eating junk food or smoking that cigarette because you know what's important to you. Okay, so we've managed to discuss all three habits in the personal space. Now we're moving on to the relationship space, and this is all about the relationship bank account. Now that you've had the foundations of having the personal habits, you want to move on to the relationship bank account, which is when you do good things for others, you are depositing to your relationship bank account. So let's say you had a good conversation with your mother, that's a deposit. If you help your dad with doing work, that's a deposit. So let's say you had an argument and then you didn't make up with your sibling. That's a withdrawal from relationship bank account. So let's move on to the fourth habit, which is thinking win-win. Now, oftentimes we just want to win, even if it means that other people will lose. But in this book, it really highlights the importance of making sure other people win with you, and the importance of not really compromise, but collaboration on working on how finding a solution that works. So a practical example is maybe you want to watch this movie, Avatar, The Last Airbender. Who would watch The Last Airbender? Whatever. You somehow want to watch Avatar, The Last Airbender. The movie, the Hollywood movie, not the Nickelodeon show. That was great. Yeah. You want to watch Avatar, another person wants to watch Batman, and you both want to watch together. A win-lose would be you both watch Avatar. You're happy, she's unhappy. Not that good. A lose-win would be that you guys watch Batman, you're not happy, she's happy, I'm Batman. Why do I make video, man? Next is the lose-lose is you guys just don't watch. None of you are happy. But a win-win would be as easy as watching both movies when you guys have the time. Or watching half of each movie, which is, I don't know, why would you watch half of? Should I really continue making YouTube videos? Anyway, the importance of finding a win-win solution is that if you guys both are happy and you both look out for each other while looking out for yourself, yeah, it's like the trust and the bond between you guys in the relationship will be improved. And when that's improved, you guys can be able to solve problems better together, be able to understand one another. It's just a good deposit on the relationship bank account. Let's move on to the fifth habit, which is seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Now, this habit, when I read it on that night, I almost cried because like it showed me just how important it is to be listening to others. Before I read that chapter, I was like I have this reactive nature. Like when someone gets angry at me, either I cry or like get defensive or get reactive. Little did I know that I don't have to react immediately. I can just take my time and listen. So the main strategy that this author gives in this chapter is to do active listening. And active listening is basically just listening with your eyes, ears, and like body, meaning like your body language is faced towards that person. And when you do that, like you're nodding, you're listening to every single word that the person is saying. You're listening to their body language. You're paying attention to their body language, their tonality. And when they say something, you don't defend yourself right away. Instead, you just repeat what they say in your own words. This is called active listening, where you're paraphrasing what they're saying. So let's say maybe your friend told you, no, I don't want to make an act about this. But yes, just remember, if someone is mad at you, just try to listen to them and then then just rephrase what you're saying in your own words. Sooner or later, your friend will be calm and you guys can find a solution together. Don't give advice right away when someone is ranting. When someone is ranting or angry at you, let them calm down first by listening to them and being there for them, comforting them, and being there to actively listen. The sixth habit is synergy. And this is basically when instead of 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1 plus 1 equals 3. So mainly synergy is just a way for you guys to work together with others and do better than if you work alone. And this one quote I remember by Phil Jackson. Is it Phil Jackson? Yeah, it was Phil Jackson. He said that strength the strength of the player is the team, and the strength of the team is the player. Meaning that if you work together, you'll be able to do and accomplish more than if you just work separately and but then like all in the same direction. What I mean by that is that if you have a group work and you have someone who's good at design, make sure that that person is the one focused on design. If someone is good at speaking, let that person do speaking. Someone is good at researching, do that researching. Don't, make it equal. Instead, prioritize on strengths and try to cover up each other's weaknesses. That is the main gist of being synergistic. Another one about synergy is about help lifting each other up and leading each other. So an example here is it doves, eagles, gulls? You know those birds that they fly in V's, right? There's a reason for why they fly in V. It's because that there's an updraft. No, it's not an updraft. It's more like the air resistance. The one in front, when the bird in front is flying, the air is being like guarded, lost. Basically the birds behind the bird in front of them have an easier time to fly because there isn't much air resistance. So that helps them all fly better. And when the one in front gets tired, they rotate and just help each other. And another thing that I like is that if let's say one of the bird gets injured, then two other birds will go with them and help them create like their own V to to help and create updraft to help the other bird fly again. And once the bird is okay, they find other birds to make their own V. Just imagine how well we could be successful if we all just work together and synergize just like that. And before myself, I've had experience of working with groups, and I kind of had traumas working with groups because I was either too bossy or too much of a pushover to the point where I stopped trusting in my group mates. I stopped getting them involved. I just wanted to do well, and like in my mind, I thought I could do it better than all of them could. So even though I would overwork myself, I would just do everything. I would make all decisions. I would do all the work. because to me, it's just easier to make decisions. It's less stressful and more efficient. But later on, right now, I'm trying to work better with people. I'm trying to trust people more. I'm getting them more involved. And I think it's one of them was because I read this quote. It was, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with others. From that point on, I was like, oh, damn, am I sacrificing other people's potentials to do better, to grow, just so that I can submit this assignment a few days earlier, or just so that I can have a bit of more peace of mind? I thought it was worth it. But then again, I remembered that they are people too. And like my group mates need opportunities to grow. So that point forward, I just realized I have to be a team player. I have to be a better leader. I have to keep improving. So it was all good in the end because if I hadn't made those mistakes, I wouldn't have made the improvements that I have today. Sounds pretty deep. So we're moving on to the last habit, finally. It's called sharpening the saw. Now remember the tree that we saw. It's the tree that we saw. Remember the tree that has the 6 habits. The 7th habit is called sharpening the saw. And Abraham Lincoln, when he tried, when he, his famous quote is, "If you give me 6 hours to cut off a tree, I'll take 3 hours to sharpen the saw." Meaning that you have to be able to do things outside of these 6 habits so that these 6 habits will be strengthened. And this could be rest, this could be taking the time off, and this could be improving yourself. Now, if we just keep on doing, we will hit a plateau, just like how bodybuilders had a just like how bodybuilders hit a plateau in their training. They need to take time off to rest. They need to take time off to read. They need to take time off to pray, to meditate. And that's all that this habit is all about. Prioritize time to sharpen the saw, to rest physically by sleeping more, by taking naps, by making sure you're exercising, mentally by sharpening your mind, by playing chess, by reading, and spiritually, of course, by praying, by connecting to your faith, by meditating, by just letting your mind wander, staring at the wall for a few hours. Having that time to do every week, at least 1 to 2 hours every week to sharpen the saw, you will see more progress than if you just hustled your way to do the 6 habits. So this is by far my favorite habit because a lot of people talk about just doing, and doing more than the competition or just working off on the weekends. But to me, when I see people that do that, it's kind of like they're just trying to show off. They want others to see that they're working hard, even though they're not working efficiently or effectively. You see, it's not about showing off. It's all about doing more than what you could have done. It's about learning and doing better. And if sharpening the saw means resting, and if resting means that you can do better next time, then I'm all for it. So these are the 7 habits of highly effective people. And yeah, they've helped me throughout life. It's just that I keep forgetting about it. So it's nice to be able to reread this. And yeah, me personally, I've been applying these habits without consciously thinking, oh, I'm doing habit number 3. I'm thinking number 3. Which one's that? Prioritizing things. First things first. No. When you read this book, you kind of have to read it like multiple times or listen to summaries like this one so that you can be able to apply it in your daily life. Sooner or later, it will just feel normal, feel natural. You won't know that you're trying to copy a book. But if you enjoy this video, let me know in the comments. And I really hope that you'll be able to apply these 7 habits and one day be more highly effective. Click this video right now. See you next one.